Welcome to LCJ Live. Today is Sunday, June 23rd, 2024. Hope you're having a good weekend. You know who's really having a good weekend? Disney, once again. For the first time ever, as of this moment, an animated film earns $100 million in its second weekend. That is the estimate for Inside Out 2, $100 million. That beats the previous record for an animated feature of $92.3 million for the Super Mario Brothers movie from Universal and Illumination just last year. Now, I could see Disney upping this estimate tomorrow. I could see them lowering the estimate tomorrow. We'll have to see what happens. As always, send in your questions and your comments as I'm pulling up it right here on YouTube. Thank you for watching here on YouTube Live for LCJ Live. Like I said, the estimate could go down tomorrow, but still well above that $92.3 million for Mario, making this a record second weekend for animation, which is huge. You're probably wondering why I've got Jason Momoa Aquaman here with me. I've been wanting to show this off for a couple weeks. I got this from my good friends at the Malta Drive-In, and they go to a conference every year for drive-in theater owners, and they picked this up for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. And I like it because it marks the end of the DC Extended Universe. I thought, you know what? This is a cool way to remember what was the DC Extended Universe before whatever happens with whatever James Gunn and the rest of the crew do in the months and years to come with all those movies. So it's to remember that. It's a nice acknowledgement. It is a very large cup, by the way. I had tons of water in it that night when I was at the Malta Drive-In Theater. And support your drive-ins. I also work for the Hollywood Drive-In Theater, upstate New York, two of the legendary drive-in movie theaters, and they've been doing really well these last couple of weeks with Inside Out 2 and Bad Boys Ride or Die, which added $18.8 million. It's at $146.9. Remember, the last one did just over $200 million for Sony back in early 2020. We'll see how high this one can get. For Inside Out 2, the total right now, $355.2, just about $1.5 million shy of what the first Inside Out made total back in 2015, and just 10-11 days in, we are already there for Inside Out 2. It is closing in on $780 million globally, something like that. It closes at 750, 780. It's incredible. Gonna get to $800 million. Gonna get to $1 billion, which is great. And I think two more movies have the chance to hit $1 billion this summer. Despicable Me 4, which opens in just a matter of days, and Deadpool and Wolverine, which opens at the end of July. Yeah, Despicable Me 4 is on the way. It did some numbers overseas a little bit as well. I believe Australia, a few other countries. So it's kicking off the global run already and comes here in just about a week and a half, along with Maxine. And then Beverly Hills Cop is on Netflix. It's going to be a big 4th of July weekend for movies that whole Wednesday through Sunday. But we got this weekend coming up first. I'll talk about A Quiet Place, Horizon, and more here in just a minute on LCJ Live. As always, send in your questions and your comments. And let's go to the Bikeriders, which made $10 million this weekend for Focus Features. That ties it basically with My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 for the biggest Focus Features opening weekend in the last couple years, since the $16 million of Downton Abbey: A New Era back in May 2022. The Bikeriders already the biggest movie of the year for Focus, biggest movie of 2024, passing Lisa Frankenstein, which totaled $9.8 million. The Bikeriders features an excellent Tom Hardy performance, and the rest of the movie I'm really not a fan of. But if you love Tom Hardy, man, Locke. I still think Locke is the greatest A24 movie of all time. His performance in that is unbelievable. And in a year of unbelievable performances, Michael Keaton in Birdman, and Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler, and Bradley Cooper in American Sniper, Eddie Redmayne winning the Oscar for The Theory of Everything, David Oyelowo in Thelma. I'm missing a few. 2014, that lead actor category, just unbelievable, that award season. Steve Carell in Foxcatcher, I still consider a supporting performance, but Benedict Cumberbatch in The Imitation Game, I remember walking out of that going, wow, Cumberbatch has never been better. And when I saw Tom Hardy in Locke, it was just incredible. I was mesmerized for all 85 minutes. It is so challenging what he does in that movie. And it's challenging what he does in the Bikeriders as well. And he has a strong second half. The facial expressions, the mannerisms, the tone in his voice, what he does with that role. He elevates the movie, especially for the second half, and really is the only reason to see the Bikeriders. So then we go to a tie for 4th place this weekend With 3.6 million each, it is the Garfield movie, which is up to 85.1, tying it with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which made 3.6 million this weekend. It's at 164.4 for Disney 20th Century. For the Garfield movie, what's interesting is that it is exactly at the same amount of money as 2006's Open Season for Sony Columbia, the first Sony Pictures Animation movie ever released. Now, the Garfield movie is not under the Sony Pictures Animation brand, but it is a Sony animated release, and it's about to make the same amount of money as the Emoji Movie, which did 86.5 back in 2017. So it's going to pass the Emoji Movie. Look, Garfield had a $24 million opening weekend, and it's up to 85. That is pretty strong. Speaking of strong and family content, If made another 2.8 million this weekend. It's at 106.6 for Paramount. It's the biggest Paramount movie of the year. And it passed Dungeons and Dragons from last year. It's going to pass the Scream movie from last year. So it's doing pretty good with a, $35 million opening weekend, 106 total. That is solid. And look, families, what is that? 6.4 million combined for Garfield and If this weekend, even with Inside Out 2 still making another $100 million. I think you benefit from the drive-ins. I think you benefit from second-run theaters showing these films who don't have Inside Out 2 yet. I think that's where the strength is. By the way, Inside Out 2 is about to pass Minions: The Rise of Gru to become the 10th biggest animated movie of all time. It will knock that off the list and will knock an Illumination movie off the list, leaving the only Illumination film in that top 10, Super Mario Brothers movie. That top 10 will now consist of 5 Pixar films, Illumination's Mario Brothers, Sony with Across the Spider-Verse from last year, 2 Disney movies, both Frozen installments, and Shrek 2 back in 2004 for DreamWorks. That's what your top 10 for animated films of all time is about to consist of once Inside Out 2 passes Minions: The Rise of Gru, which could happen as soon as tomorrow or Tuesday. Coming in 6th this weekend, as I mentioned, was If. Coming in 7th is The Exorcism, which opened at 2.4 million. This is a movie I like. That D-Cinema score is ridiculous. This is a fun film. Is it perfect? No. It's got plot holes. The third act is too long. It's a little goofy in spots. But Russell Crowe gives a legitimately good performance, as he did in Greatest Beer Run Ever, as he did in Land of Bad earlier this year. Sam Worthington, his presence in the film alone adds to the realism. This film has a good amount of authenticity to it when it comes to movie making and what happens on set and the biz and special effects and a lot of things that happen. I really like the movie making scenes in this. Also, David Hyde Pierce, perfectly cast. He plays the priest expert who is a guide for Russell Crowe's character on set. And David Hyde Pierce is very good. Yeah, I like this movie. It's fun. You enjoy it. Just sit back and enjoy it. And it's about an actor making a comeback more than it is a horror film. I think part of the reason, and I sort of knew this as I was watching it last week, I thought, okay, young people who like their horror movies of just gore and slashing and all that for 2 hours or an hour and a half, the traditional horror movie beats. This is not a traditional horror movie. It's not. This is about an actor making a comeback. It's a psychological drama. They even reference that in the movie more than the gore and the slashing and the scares that happen at a couple different points in the film. So I thought, that's going to turn young people off, but people who like movies in the entertainment world will get into it, as I did, and enjoy it for what it is. It's from the director of the movie and the writer is the son of the actor who played the priest in The Exorcist from 1973. You can tell there was a lot of care put into this. It was filmed in 2019. They did reshoots last year. I don't know exactly what they reshot, but they did some additional shooting. I like the film. I think it's good. I recommend it. I know it's getting panned, but you know what? I recommend it. Go see The Exorcism. A film I don't care for is the next movie, number 8, Thelma, which only made 2.2 million this weekend, the June Squibb comedy. I like June Squibb. She's fine in the film. The premise is decent. Where it goes from there is terrible. Just terrible. Ridiculous. Far-fetched. Now you could say, the concept may be far-fetched. No. It's what they do with the concept that makes it far-fetched. There's some moments that make absolutely no sense. There are so many cringy scenes. Clark Gregg and Parker Posey's characters, just so unfunny. A lot of it's stale. A lot of it's going, really? And that third act's a mess. I could not have a good time with Thelma because so many aspects of it distracted me. Even some of the humor in Thelma makes fun of older people having specific illnesses. I go, what are you doing here? That's so wrong. Thelma, it's a miss for me. Number 9 is The Watchers, which added 1.9 million. It's at 17.8 for Warner Brothers. And rounding out your top 10 this weekend is a film called Ghost Right Here, Right Now, R-I-T-E, which made 1.5 million. Its total is 2.7. Out of the top 10 this weekend, Furiosa, which added 1.4 million. It's at 66.1 for Warner Brothers, as well as The Fall Guy, which added $1 million. It's hit 90 for Universal. Like I posted earlier today, the film should have probably done close to double that total. But when a movie opens to 27 and does more than 3.25 times its total, which now Fall Guy's at 90 million, that's not bad, all things considered. Yes, it's an underperformer for sure. It did not get the summer season off to a good start, but going from 27 to 90 is not bad. Kinds of Kindness opened in 5 theaters this weekend with 350,000. That's a $70,000 per screen average. I believe that's a high for the year. It expands to about 500 locations this week. That's the new Yorgos Lanthimos film starring Emma Stone. He'll keep making movies with Emma Stone probably for the next 20 years. Janet Planet from A24 opened in 2 theaters with 50,000 this weekend, a $25,000 per screen average. That also expands nationwide this weekend, along with Daddy-O, which stars Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson. That's from Sony Classics. Kevin Costner in Horizon, an American Saga Chapter 1, which opens nationwide from Warner Brothers. And A Quiet Place Day One, the sort of prequel to the In the Quiet Place franchise, a new perspective, a new angle. Day one of what's going on in the world. That opens this weekend from Paramount, starring Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o. On Hulu Tuesday is Diane von Furstenberg, Woman in Charge, a solid documentary on the fashion icon. But a really strong documentary is I Am, Celine Dion, which is still playing in select theaters. It played Friday and yesterday and today, and it goes to Prime Video from Amazon on Tuesday. I saw this Friday. It's a tough watch, but wow, is it powerful. It's Celine Dion reflecting on her career, reflecting on her voice, her regrets, and how she feels, her health conditions, her health battles. It's challenging, not just physically, but emotionally. You get some fun moments here and there. They play some talk show clips kind of to break up the tension and to break up the intensity. But seeing her powerhouse performances, vocal performances on the big screen, it's an experience. And then to hear her talk about what her career meant to her, what her wardrobe meant to her. We go into her archives and see all her outfits from over the years. We get archival video. We see her with her children, interacting with her physical therapist. And it's just heartbreaking to watch someone so talented suffer. It's a challenging film, but if you're a fan of hers, you have to watch it. If it's playing near you, go see it. Otherwise, it's on Prime Video starting Tuesday. Through the Lens. Hey, Jackson, have you seen Inside Out 2 yet? If so, what'd you think? I thought it was a truly relatable experience that is a return to form for Pixar. Hey, Through the Lens. Yeah, I saw it last week, opening day. I like it. I don't think it's quite as good as the first one, which I didn't even love, but I like the film. The best scene in Inside Out 2 is the climactic scene. Absolutely. That, to me, is Pixar at its best in terms of the drama. When, and I'm not going to give anything away, but it's intense, and it doesn't require a lot of dialogue, and it's got interesting camera angles, and it's moving. That's strong Pixar. Recently, I liked some of the Pixar movies recently. Elemental, I think, is excellent. I like Elemental more than Inside Out 2. Elemental, to me, Wade and Ember are one of the best couples in a Disney or Pixar animated movie of all time. Belle and the Beast, Jack and Sally in The Nightmare Before Christmas, Wade and Ember and Elemental. I think they're the top 3. You stick with them the whole way, you love Elemental. Through the Lens says, I love the first one a lot more. The first one had Bing Bong. The first one had Amy Poehler's voice performance for the first time. The first one had, intrigue a little bit with what was going on inside Riley's mind for the first time. It's tough to make a sequel. Anxiety's a good new character. There's good, strong new characters. but that last scene to me is core Pixar. I think the last scene of Luca is core Pixar. I think there's moments in Soul that are core Pixar. Turning Red's got some of that. Elemental, I think, is pretty strong throughout, especially after the first half hour. It's a little slow first half hour, and then Elemental gets great. And Inside Out 2, I think it's the climactic scene. It's some of the humor and some of the emotion, but it's that final scene for me for Inside Out 2, which is making more than the first Inside Out, and who knows if we'll get an Inside Out 3 in about 5 or 6 years, maybe sooner. I know there's a spin-off series coming to Disney Plus next year that I guess is already done. Hopefully it lives up to the impact of Inside Out 2. Wasn't a fan of Elemental, unfortunately didn't grab me emotionally as much as it wants to. Yeah, I disagree with that, but I was moved by Elemental. The music in it, Thomas Newman's score, outstanding. That song, Steal the Show, really good. So we'll see. Elio is the next Pixar movie, which is out next June. And then Toy Story 5 is coming. And Disney Animation's got Moana 2 this year, and Zootopia 2 next year. It's brands and sequels, but also original content like Elio and passion projects. So we'll see. I think Pixar, some of the sequels have been better than others. Finding Dory I didn't love. Lightyear I thought was good but not great. Prequels and sequels. And Thomas Newman, I mean, my gosh, he needs to have an Academy Award by now. One of our finest composers. That Saving Mr. Banks score, just forget about it. That 1917 score, oh my gosh, outstanding. Frankly, you should have 3 Oscars. It should be for Saving Mr. Banks, 1917, and Elemental. Now, Inside Out 2 could be an animated feature nominee. We've got a long way to go this award season. There's going to be so many animated movies coming out. If Wallace and Gromit qualifies this year, what we get the rest of the year, anime, big studio releases, Wild Robot's getting a lot of buzz from DreamWorks. The animated feature competition could be really strong, as it was this past year with Boy and the Heron versus Spider-Verse, and you had Robot Dreams in there. Robot Dreams is still making money in limited release. It continues to expand. Go see it. One of the best animated movies of the last 10 years. I will be seeing Quiet Place and Horizon this week, probably Kinds of Kindness, Daddy-O, and Janet Planet as well. I may see all 5. It's going to be a heck of a week. Keep it to my social medias. That's Twitter, X at LCJ Reviews, Instagram at LightsCamJackson, the website lights-camera-jackson.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/LightsCameraJackson. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next Sunday for LCJ Live. It'll be the final episode of the first half of 2024. Wow. I may announce a 10 best list next Sunday, maybe. I may save it. It depends. I want to see all 5 of these films before I make a decision. Right now, I will tell you, I have 12 movies that I like a lot, and so far only 10 spots. I'm considering if all 5 of the movies I see this week are not very good, then I may do a top 12. But if there's some that are strong, I may have to go top 10, and a few very good movies may not make it. I may not have a place for Dune Part 2. That's how good this year has been so far when it comes to some smaller movies. Yes, Dune Part 2, the blockbuster, but smaller movies and documentaries. It's a really good year for documentaries, and half of my list may belong to documentaries. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for being here for LCJ Live. Thanks for watching. Have a good Sunday. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.